Welcome to the Growing Up Bananas podcast, where we dissect the perks and tribulations of being bananas.
It's hot being yellow and I feel so white.
My name is Ethan. Marcus is sitting next to me, and in many ways, I'm sitting next to him.
Yeah.
What do we have in store today?
Alright, so today we're going to discuss about our weird injuries and a little bit funny of how we got our injuries. And we're very fortunate to have our Asian James Bond here, Jack, 42 underscore Jack F, join us later. And let's get into it.
So, Marcus, you told me a funny story over lunch the other day about, I think it was your quad injury.
Yeah.
So, tell us about it.
Okay, I'll just tell everything first and you see which is the worst story.
Because you're injury prone, man.
Yeah, extremely injury prone. So I've got I broke my arm here. So I'm not sure if you guys can see, but there's a scar here. So I broke two bones here. I torn my PCL, I torn my MCL, and I torn my quads. Yeah.
Okay, we'll take us through
Yeah,
this.
okay. So first injury, my arm. It's all football injuries, soccer injuries. I fell down and someone stepped on my arm. And the thing is that I didn't know my arm was broken. So I think it wasn't that broken. It's like only after 10 minutes later, after I came up from the field, then I saw my hand looks a little bit weird. So I went to twist my arm, and I heard the snap.
You got all the adrenaline pumping.
Yeah.
And you think, it's probably
fine, yeah.
It's probably just a bruise or something.
Yeah. So I pressed my arm really hard, and I hear the. I know it's oh shit, I'm screwed.
So
I'm so
surgery
screwed.
on that?
Yeah, surgery. So I couldn't use my hand for 2 months, and in the end, I got to learn how to write with my left hand.
All right. Well, I mean, that's a positive.
It's good, yeah. So probably I can write with two hands right now, if practice enough. If I got enough practice, yeah.
Handy.
Then alright, back to next injury, my PCL. So for PCL, it actually happened twice. The first time around, it's weird again. The first time around, I heard the snap, so it wasn't that bad. So I went to the doctor, and the doctor told me you can just rest for maybe 3 months, then go back to football. Then within 1 month, I went back to play.
In 1 month?
In 1 month, yeah.
Well,
so you know what's going to happen next. So
the recipe for disaster.
I remember what happened was, it was 11-a-side game. It was I went back to competitive running and competitive football again. It's not leisure. So within the first second, the whistle blew. And the next 2 seconds later, I was down and I was ref!
So was everyone just laughing? What is wrong with this guy?
I remember one of my good friend, he was laughing his ass off because he knew what happened to me. He was one of the few people that told me not to play, but I was just I want to play. So I felt fine.
Yeah.
I didn't expect one sprint to my opposition, then I just fell. Within 2 seconds, I was ref, sup?
So I don't know if people picked up on your episode, but you used to be a semi-professional player,
Yeah,
right?
exactly, yeah.
So high-level, serious player.
Yep, but not serious in my injuries, yeah.
Alright, so that's the first knee.
Yeah.
Take us through the next knee.
Okay, the next knee, that's MCL, so that's a typical injury, so nothing interesting about it. Okay, for the next part, my next leg, it's a quads, which is on my right quads. I want to be a hero. I want to...
So we all...
I want to be the best player on the pitch, because I felt my leg is good and everything is good.
So run us through the play.
Yep, so... So through the play, I saw a really high ball coming towards me, and it's a nice ball for me to do a volley kick. Then there's no defenders in front of me, so I thought maybe I can do my kicks, because I used to be semi-pro player, and kicking a ball is easy. So I gave a really massive strike, and the next moment when I swing the ball and hit the ball, I heard a snap.
Oh.
Okay. And that's not the worst part. The worst part is I missed the goal. And the ball flew really high away. And I know the next thing is the ball went out of the fence. So my teammate was asking me, Marcus, go collect the ball. And then I'm just on the floor, on the ground. Yeah. I couldn't do anything much. Then I just got to call help, and someone got to carry me off. And one of my friends started laughing. He's like, no, look at that. You did such a big kick for what? Yeah.
I would have loved to see that, but...
Yeah, no.
For you.
Yeah. It happens. It happens.
I mean, nothing to do with being bananas, but quite funny, I think. It's funny at the time. No, sorry, it's not funny at the time. Funny for everyone else at the time.
Yeah.
But it's good that you can laugh about this.
Yeah. But I'm back again. Yeah. Playing again.
Back, yeah.
I'm back football
So how's
again.
the body
Yeah.
now?
It feels good. I hope nothing happens again. So I gave myself like 3 months before any injuries gonna happen.
Well, if they tell you to take 6 months off, don't come back in 2 months.
yeah.
No, that's good. So I thought it was just a nice little story about Marcus. If you checked out his episode, he spoke about his time briefly about being a semi-professional player. So that's why he's not in the Premier League at the moment.
Yeah.
Only because of
Trying
injuries.
to.
He would be there if not for injuries.
No one wants to sign me, sadly, for that.
So, yeah, we've got Jack coming on now. It's going to be a good chat with him. He's got a few really good insights about being a sort of young, hardworking guy, and there'll be some good things to come from there. So today we're extremely fortunate to have Jack, or 42_JackF on Instagram, joining us today. He's an international man, speaks multiple languages, a musician, an athlete. He's involved in some startups, future medical professional, and obviously a hit with the ladies. How are you today, man?
Yeah, good. Thank you so much, Ethan and Marcus. It's a pleasure.
Thanks for coming, man. So look, let's just start off. Tell us a bit about your cultural heritage.
Yeah, it's interesting. So I grew up in China until I finished primary school. So I'll say I'm definitely Chinese.
Yep.
And then I moved to New Zealand to finish my secondary school. So that was interesting. And then now I'm here in Brisbane, in the Sunshine State. Pretty exciting.
So do you consider yourself a useful Asian, meaning you can actually speak Chinese, unlike myself?
Yeah, useful Asian. Loosely define that.
You can speak Chinese?
Okay, yeah, I say Chinese is pretty functional.
Yeah.
Yeah, like in some sense, probably better than my English, but that's interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's take a step back then. So like you said, you started off in China, went to New Zealand. What are your memories of China, of growing up there?
Really interesting question. It's all blurred now, to be honest, but I think a couple of the significant one was just like jam-packed of people. Like it was just people everywhere. I remember I went to one of the public primary schools, so like we had 5,000, 6,000 kids, about 90 kids in a single classroom. So like we're just literally elbow to elbow in the classroom, and you try to stretch, you basically smack someone in the face.
Yeah.
So that was one of the, I'll say that's what comes to mind when you say, what's your memory of China? But at the same time, I think the family part is pretty prominent in my memory as well. It's just like the warmth of Chinese New Year, which is pretty cool.
You come from a big family?
It's not that big. Like, I was the only child.
Yep.
Still am. And then, it's not a big family at all. Yeah, so.
Which city are you from?
I'm from China? Originally from Henan.
Henan.
Yeah, so like
that's up north, right?
It's like north middle.
North middle. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Is it like really populous area? Like is there a lot of population there?
Yeah, it's very populous.
Populous. Okay.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong.
All the cities in China, since like even if it's small,
right.
It's
so like
20 million.
Yeah, because I'm thinking like 5,000 people in the school. That's a lot, Yeah.
It's pretty massive.
The funny contrast about like you talk about your small family is a lot of sort of Western Asians we're used to having 5, 4, 6 siblings at times. Whereas obviously with the one child policy in China, it's yourself and maybe a cousin.
Yeah, I get it.
And that's it. Whereas like I don't know about you, Marcus, but my family, extended family, is massive.
Yeah, so the thing is like in Singapore, our parents, which are my parents' generation, there's a lot of like siblings. They've got a lot of brothers and sisters. But when it comes down to my generation right now, so I guess like they kind of reduce because they know there's only like 2 kids in the family, maximum 3 kids, because it's more like a financial thing. Because they know that our parents went through a hardship and all these things, so they don't want to bring the hardship to the kids. So they keep it like short and easy, little. Just keep it like 2 max. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yourself being an only child, myself having siblings, Marcus having siblings as well. I suppose how strict were your parents on you, being their only hope?
I mean, I'm speaking like with a bias here because I don't know what.
It's the only way you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Exactly. Like that's the only way I know it. But I'll say my parents are pretty nice in that regard. They're not like the typical Asian parents. I don't know some of the people talked about on your podcast. I think they're very much into that educational theory, like educational psychology. I remember my mom reading heaps about it. So I was like raised in a mixed Western and Eastern culture. They're like, I think I was having this conversation with mom early on. She was like, oh, like we didn't just punish you, but we'll also give you a positive reinforcement. So it's like, they use different sort of very evidence-based method to raise me. So I'll say it's a pretty good experience.
So how's your grades in primary school then?
It's okay.
Yeah.
I got by.
Did it push you a lot during primary school or what?
Yeah. So in terms of studying?
Yeah, studying, yeah.
I think they were, I mean, I'll be lying if I say they weren't stressed about, me doing the best I can.
Yeah, okay.
But like, when I was struggling a little, they also weren't like, really just on my bottom and try to push me as hard as possible. They were like, oh, what's going on? Let's see how we can fix this.
Work with you and like sort of pull you along rather than pushing you.
Exactly that. Work with me, yeah.
Because for my experience, like when I was in primary school, I was really like a mischievous boy. Yeah, so my parents like had a hard time making me study, so they got to send me to like a lot of tuitions. So, like on Saturdays in the morning, around like 10:30 a.m. There's
Sunday. Oh.
Yeah, there's Pokemon on that show on that timing, and my mom knows that I love to watch it, so she sent me for tuition on that timing, and I was so pissed.
It's good parenting.
I was pissed as hell. And in the past, you can't do like any recordings for the series, so I was like, damn,
that's interesting.
I missed it. Yeah.
Very much. Is that very much the Singapore culture? Like,
yeah, I would say so.
Tuition.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tuitions, a lot of tuitions. That's for me. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Same with China. Like I remember one of my primary school classmates. He was going to tuition straight after primary school. Like we finish around 5 o'clock.
Primary school as well.
Yeah,
that's just so foreign for Australia.
Easily. Like I think one of them started when he was in like year 1.
Wow.
Oh, his parents was like, oh, if we get him ahead by 2 years, then by the time he have to sit the exam to get into secondary school, he would find that really easy, and then he'll just find the university entrance exam easy. Consequently,
I beg to differ.
Well, I hope he amounted to something with that sort of pressure on him.
I think he flourished in some way.
Okay, well, it works, man. I guess it says it works.
Yeah, to an extent.
So let's pick the timeline back up then. So that's primary school. You said then you went overseas to continue your studies. How did that come about?
Good question. To be honest, I'm not so 100% sure. I think it was different elements that played into that decision. It's like something to do with dad's business, and then also just I think they've always had this idea of wanting me to have a little more Western education.
Yep.
A little bit more freedom in terms of what I can do with my time. So I think just cumulatively they came to that decision.
Yeah. So where did you guys settle in New Zealand?
Auckland.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Why New Zealand?
Why New Zealand?
Yeah.
Good question. I mean, according to Secondary Education Index, perhaps.
The research
Don't quote me on
done
that. I'm just guessing, but it's got to be up there with like secondary education, primary education in New Zealand. Yeah, because like everybody's so nice, there's minimal, minimal conflict. Mm-hmm. Yeah, everybody's living comfortably, and therefore,
Yeah, all right. So how long were you in New Zealand for?
About 8 years.
8 years,
Yeah.
okay. Wow.
So was it sort of? You said you went when you were like 10 or 11, was it?
That's right.
Finished school, and then obviously found yourself here without jumping too far ahead.
Yeah.
You're Chinese. You come here. What was your English like? I say here in New Zealand.
Horrible.
Could you speak?
I knew words, but I couldn't string together a sentence whatsoever.
so culturally, language-wise, must have been a massive change and shock for you.
It was a shock, yeah. I mean, I was just thinking about this. One of the key memories that I had was my first day at school. Like when we had our first assembly, and one of my mentors supposedly was like, "Oh, be ready for this. You're gonna get called up on on the podium to introduce yourself to the school or something." And I was freaking the frick out because I couldn't speak a word.
Yeah.
If I see someone that's Caucasian, I would literally be tremoring.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, how am I gonna do this on a podium? And I was like, surely he's just playing with me, right? So we'll walk into the assembly area, And then next thing we know, the guy's calling my Chinese name.
Should be like, oh no, I can't understand.
Yeah, I
Should've
didn't
done
understand because he
I
had
actually
such an
couldn't. Strong
because like the way he read my name was just like
Yeah.
it's so different from what I'm used to.
Yeah.
Like my mentor nudged me, "That's you, go, buddy." So I marched down the space between chairs, shook the man's hand. He gave me this like massively firm handshake.
Yeah.
Which like tore me to
Intimidating.
pieces. Yeah, and then he was like, "Oh, welcome to the school. Thank you very much." And I didn't know what to reply, so I was like, "Thank you." And then everybody gave me applause. You know, people like, you know, welcome to the school. But still, like, I think that was just one of the core memories that drove me to wanting to at least to be able to have a conversation in English and just like, you know, it's pretty good.
Like, how long do you reckon did you spend your time studying English until you're like fluent with it?
Fluent.
Yeah.
Interesting. I
And
reckon
confident. Yeah.
to be functional in English, it doesn't like, especially as a kid, with like a high neuroplasticity, it's easy. Like maybe 3 years.
It's okay.
But like to have good accent and like to be able to go above and beyond to use different phrases and stuff, it takes a little more time to experiment. Yeah,
Okay.
I think so. That's my personal opinion. But yeah.
So you can't speak. You come over, or you came over to New Zealand. I keep saying here. What did you sort of lean on to make friends and things like that? Because you must have stood out massively, being from China, not being able to speak. What did you? Because I guess for me, I always had sport to fall back on.
Gotcha.
So wherever I'd go, like I grew up in South Africa, I came here. All my friends I would make through sport, through the teams. What did you have to lean back on?
Yeah, that's really interesting. Same with Coda as well, because I was listening to your podcast, and you both sort of shared that synergy. You know, we had an interest, and everybody was just like, you know, you shared the same interest in the friend group.
Yeah,
and I was always envious of people like that because I didn't have something that I could just like do and make friends.
Yeah.
So it was definitely an interesting journey where I have to learn to, I guess, like being able to meet different people and be comfortable with them. And then I eventually did find my group, which was through like band and music.
Yep.
So that was my very first group. So I started playing trombone when I was back in China.
Okay.
Picked it up again when I went to New Zealand. And then I was part of the jazz band, then concert band, you know, the typical band kid. The thing you see in American movies, super nerdy with nerd glasses.
At least you found your, like I say, you found your group.
Yeah.
And look, that's pretty good advice, I think, for any immigrant. Is you don't have that, you can imagine how difficult it would be. I know for me, I would have sucked trying to get by on personality. So had sport, you had music.
Sure.
Got to have something, I think, to make things easy.
To have commonalities despite our differences.
So is there like a lot of Asians in your school?
Oh,
Yeah. Do you feel like comfort if you see like one Asian there? It's like, it's like home. Do you feel that?
you're right, exactly, yeah. Because as I mentioned before, my mentor was actually Chinese. So
That's nice.
It was really cool.
That makes things easier.
Yeah, it's nice that, you know, the school assigned the only other Asian kid to
So did he,
with me.
did he like speak Chinese to you during the day?
Did you speak to him in Chinese?
Yeah.
We had to. But I mean, the school's policy was, you know, speak as much English as possible.
Yeah, of course.
Like, you know, that's at least have some respect for other people.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I definitely have to speak Chinese with him, and then I was just like, I really couldn't, like, big shout out to him. I really couldn't have done it without like his guidance for sure.
Yeah.
Just like imagine jumping into a year 7 class, but like not being able to understand.
And then I guess reflecting on that time, did you ever feel out of place
Out of place.
because of race? You obviously know you look different.
Yeah.
Did you feel it at that time that you were different?
For sure. I think I would say this, definitely there were differences, but I think I was just so oblivious to it.
Okay.
Or maybe I just didn't want to believe that there was that difference.
Yeah.
So I was like, maybe I was trying my best be a part of them, I guess. So I was like, there's nothing I can control, and therefore I really didn't pay attention to any of that big differences. Because I know, Ethan, you said you almost resented being
I did,
Asian.
yeah. And then obviously I think the accent becomes slightly thicker as a result. you really want to simulate. You want to
Blend.
shed the your yellow skin, if you want to call it that.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, all right.
That's really true.
Yeah.
But what helped was when I stayed with the British family for a little bit during high school time. I think that's when I really came to understand the two cultures more profoundly, which I think really helped just being able to be comfortable with whatever I have.
And how long was that period? Staying with
Time
the
I
British
stayed,
family?
It was about 2 years, I say.
Okay.
I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a decent
Yes.
amount of time. Yeah.
Yeah. So take us through that time when you were with the British family. Some sort of examples of, I suppose, cultural differences which you can remember.
Yeah, for sure. It's heaps of differences, absolutely.
I can imagine that.
Yeah, exactly. Well, first and foremost, they didn't use their dishwasher as a shelf.
Oh, yep.
The dishwasher
Real purpose.
was actual dishwasher. Mind blowing. I was like, that's not a shelf. But anyways, yeah. So that was the thing. And then food. So as you guys probably heard, British food is pretty simple.
Yeah.
So I was like, damn, I
Fish and chips and peas.
Yeah. That was a treat. So fish and chips was a treat. So damn, we're having that for Tuesday again. It's alright, like food is food. As a growing boy, like whatever is in front of me, I'll just eat it. But yeah, the second thing was just their mentality, I guess, to sort of what success and happiness is.
Yep.
So obviously, if I was to, my parents are quite okay with me not studying or just doing whatever I need to. Whereas my grandparents, I think, were a bit strict. Okay. So if I lived with them, I have to do my homework.
Yeah.
They would literally switch off the TV. They wouldn't watch it, although they want to, just to make me do my homework. Whereas with the British family, this is the scenario that I found really interesting. It was like one night, 7:30 after dinner, I was doing my sciences homework. And the lady, she was like, "Oh, what are you doing? Come and watch TV with us." Bit of context, she teaches at school as well.
Okay.
So she's like, "You ain't supposed to do more than 30, 45 minutes of homework for each subject, and you're doing more than that. You know what? Give up your homework. I will talk to your social science teacher tomorrow.
Really? Oh.
Come and watch Harry Potter." I'm like, holy moly, this is a thing?
Yeah, bit of work study life balance, I suppose.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't realize, that existed. I thought you just got to do homework. That's your life.
And that's sort of like hard work ethic. Like you say, came from your grandparents. Was it things that you saw, or was it specifically they said, "Look, Jack, you need to do this, otherwise you're gonna not amount to anything in life"?
I think a bit of both. Yeah, the goal was definitely to get somewhere in life, and therefore I guess in their perspective to do that, it was to do work and grind, and, perhaps go above and beyond with what you are assigned at this stage.
Yeah.
Looking back at the experiences, so China, New Zealand, you came to Australia, which we'll start talking a little bit about now. How do you look back on that experience? Is it something that you really grateful that you got to experience, or do you wish you kind of were able to stay in a country, build your roots, build your your friendship groups and things like that?
I'll say I wouldn't change a thing. It was definitely a really great experience. I don't regret anything.
Yeah. And then now, obviously, if you find yourself in Brisbane, why Brisbane?
Why
Brisbane?
Brisbane?
Why Australia?
Yeah, I know. I think I was just fortunate enough to get a medicine offer from UQ, so I was like, pretty good. Let's give it a shot.
Did you know much about Brisbane before you came?
No, not much at all. So it was just a lot of internet research, I guess. Sunshine State.
Okay.
Good university, top 40 or 50 in the world.
Yeah, exactly.
Marcus can attest to that.
Yeah, I graduated from UQ. Yeah, I did.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
And then what were your expectations then before you came? So you, like I said, you did a bit of research. You probably saw Brisbane in very little TV, I'd probably say. What were the expectations coming to Australia?
Australia. Yeah, to be frank, my school was quite British style orientated, so everybody was not the massivest fan of Australia, I'd say.
Yeah.
Especially,
okay.
Yeah, they were just like, oh, it's just another country. Everyone speaks Bogan. Everybody's. But yeah, so I was just like, there was a bit of that preamble. I was like, what's gonna happen? But then like I'm always happy for new experiences.
Yeah.
Keen to try out different things, and
Yep.
therefore I came in with an open mind and just like I'm here to study, and whatever else come my way, I will just pick it up and give it a shot.
Okay, let me backtrack a little bit. So when did
go
you
ahead.
arrive in Brisbane?
Brisbane.
Yeah.
2 years ago.
2 years ago. So during COVID, like 2020 or 2021. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, 2021.
Okay. Yeah. So do you face any issues like coming to Australia because of COVID
Yeah,
period?
there was actually.
Yeah.
It was that time when you still had a quarantine in Sydney for a while before you can fly to Brisbane.
Yeah.
So that was definitely interesting as as a freshly 18 freshly 18 boy.
How long was it? 14 days?
No, it was shorter than that. So it was literally a week after they cancelled the long quarantine.
Mhm.
I was fortunate enough to
So did you
ride that wave.
fly by yourself, or do you have like your British family or your
Flew
family?
by myself.
By yourself. Okay. Yeah.
So it's interesting. Yeah.
Were you nervous coming over by yourself, or like you said, you knew you were here for a reason and just get into it, get it done?
Yeah.
I'll be lying to say if I wasn't nervous. But,
Yeah.
yeah, I think part of it was just like embracing that,
Exactly.
like embracing that uncertainty. I guess, especially I played I trained for karate for a long time. I think that just taught me to just deal with that as it comes.
Yep.
You're gonna be freaking scared. There's gonna be a 6'3" guy in front of you trying to beat up. You just gotta deal with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty
So
interesting.
I left Singapore. I was staying in Singapore through my entire life, and I left Singapore when I was 25 years old. So I remember at the airport, just before I crossed the borders and all this thing, I was like crying my ass off. I was, yes. Because this was my first time leaving the country by myself. All my friends and family, I'm going to leave them behind. So I was really nervous. I have to admit, I cried a lot. Yeah.
Oh man, I respect you guys for doing it, because I know I would struggle very hard to take myself that far out of the comfort zone.
Yeah.
So I guess anyone out there who's listening, it's mad respect for someone who's willing to do it.
Yeah, things will fall in place eventually. Yeah, you just gotta once you're in the country, just gotta do what you gotta do. Yeah, just
Yeah.
continue for life and things happens. And right now, yeah, we're all right. Yeah, we turn out fine. Yeah, everyone. Yeah.
Sure, but as Ethan said, there's definitely difficulty when you're in that moment. Looking
Yeah,
back,
in that moment,
it
yes,
worked out.
it is. Yeah, it is tough. It is tough, but you just gotta embrace it. Tell yourself it'll be fine, and it is fine. Yeah, the end. Yeah.
So Jack, I don't want to embarrass you, but obviously you're a self-confident, assertive, but a humble guy. So you got quite a lot going on. We'll talk about what you're doing now briefly or shortly. I kind of see you as a younger, better version of myself, to be honest, because I try to keep myself as busy as I could, doing different things, like say music, bit of martial arts, obviously study, things like that. Where did all that come from? The fact that you got so many different things to you, because a lot of high achievers that I know, it's either sport or it's art. One or two of the things. Whereas you seem to have quite a lot. Where did that all come from?
First of all, thank you so much. It's a big compliment. I don't think I'm much of anything. Jack of all trades, if anything, to be honest.
Yep.
But yeah. So where did the range of activity?
Yeah, was it
different
something that
things.
you sort of consciously went out and said, look, I want to be able to do a little bit of everything, know a bit about everything?
Yeah, I think it's a few starting points. I say. First of all, I think it was just the environment, like the family environment. I think my dad was pretty open-minded, so he's willing to try different things, travel to some pretty exotic places in his times. So I was just like, that's just the norm. So I was like, I can do that too, and why not? And then the more I sort of did it, the more interesting it got as well. Just sort of you meet so many different people of different experiences and just mindsets, and I think that's what really fascinated me. And so I guess to sum it up, family was the starting point, and they just perpetually got more and more fun the more I did. But I feel like currently maybe there is the point to how much you can actually do and decide to not specialize.
Yeah.
And I think I'm definitely hitting that sort of ceiling.
I think it's so important as well to have different things that occupy your time. So whether you're a musician or an athlete or a scholar, being being able to take your mind off that sort of key driver, that activity, and just sort of expand your horizons and do different things. How do you manage your time then at the moment? So obviously, we can talk about it. Like you said, you're doing medicine at the moment. Congratulations.
Good job, man.
Can't imagine it's not a light study load.
Yeah.
So how are you managing all that at the moment?
So, for a bit of a context for whoever don't know about UQ, they have this provisional entry program where you do 3 years of a bachelor's program, but you are basically guaranteed entry into the MD. So I'm currently still doing my bachelor's. So obviously when I'm not speaking for all the intense medical students.
Yep.
I'm still doing my bachelor's program. But I think in terms of time management, we're not a productivity podcast, so I'll keep it short. I have a pretty good timetabling system.
Where'd that come from? Because you're a relatively young guy. Like, is that something you derived yourself?
No. So big credits to a few people actually to sort of have that. They've already experimented with it, and I sort of just adopted their methods. One, I think, is Ali Abdul, British medical student, graduated from Cambridge, but now decided to take the YouTube sort of pathway. So he's big into productivity. And the other guy is Justin Song. He's also a previous doctor, but now turned educational expert. So
Seems like everyone's trying to get out of being doctors. Right?
Seems like it.
Yeah.
Stress out of it.
Yeah. So everybody's trying to escape medicine. What am I doing here? So just I guess listening to their talks and sort of the skills and techniques they shared sort of directed me towards perhaps timetabling that way. But obviously, I'm still experimenting.
Yeah.
This is what currently works. Okay. So yeah.
And then you throw in the college life, the sort of divide to enjoy it, but not, take the focus off the studies versus studying enough to also enjoy your time. Like, how were you able to balance that, or did something have to give?
Something definitely had to give.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, college, it's really interesting. Probably should first talk about what college actually means.
Take us through that.
Yeah, so it's basically a student accommodation in the Australian sense, but with like a few other things mixed into it. So you know how we watch American movies, you have your frat house. But they take it to one extreme. Whereas Australian colleges, we have a little bit of that party scene, but also we have a pretty good academic focus as well. But yeah, overall, there is a lot of partying. To be real frank, and I think it's a steep learning curve in my first semester, and I was like, shoot, what's going on here? Everybody's
Is it
out
because
drinking.
of the partings?
Yeah, I remember landing in on a Thursday, 9 a.m. or something, and then I just went to bed, slept for the most of the day. Woke up to somebody knocking on my door, just go like, "Oh, bro, do you want to go out and party?" It's Thursday, and I just landed, and you're gonna invite me to a party? But yeah, it was overall really interesting. I definitely had to learn how to balance that sort of fun and work. Yeah. For a little while, I feel like I was definitely putting my body through some pretty bad
It's
stuff.
only going to ramp up too, right? And I don't want to talk too much about your personal life, but you've now moved out of college. Was that just because you had enough, or it was just time?
Yeah, so it was pretty much time. I think everybody moves out after 2 years, or some people 3 years. So I was just like, I had a couple of good mates that were moving out as well, so I was like, let's get a house in St. Lucia.
Do you ever fear that you're gonna burn yourself out, or it sounds like you're pretty? How can I say? You're pretty organized. You've got your schedule, things like that. So it's never really going to be an issue. But do you ever worry that there's too many things going on?
Yeah, I definitely worry about that. So
because I know as well, like you're in various committees and different things like that, which is time consuming.
Yeah, they definitely are, and that's what my every time I speak to my parents, they worry about that as well, because they're pretty much workaholics, and they're like, why are you doing so much? Take it easy. But at the same time, I feel like if I'm gonna take any risk or do anything, you know, interesting, I guess like now is a pretty good time when the risk is so low.
Okay.
So I was like,
Yeah.
let's do as much as we can, and then if the body does think it's running low, I'll just gotta be careful. Take a step back.
Right.
Yeah.
You mentioned briefly there, so your parents are workaholics. Is that where you got probably your work ethic from?
Oh,
Seeing what they've done.
I hope my parents aren't listening to this. Exposing them.
There's nothing wrong with being
Yeah.
a workaholic.
True, it's a compliment, to be honest.
Yeah.
I feel like maybe, like, you know, you are basically very much a reflection of your parents' characteristics.
That's the inspiration from them. Yeah.
Inspiration, I say,
Yeah.
that's a really great word. Inspiration. Yeah, but at the same time, it's just like, you know, I feel like our family value is just like, do something with your life and perhaps be of value to someone else. And therefore, that's why I was like, you know, I have this time, energy, like to mine abundance. Why not put it to use instead of, you know, nothing wrong with it. Instead of just like sitting there doing nothing, or drinking a beer. Yeah.
So what's your main motivation now at the moment? So I was talking to Marcus before we started this, and for you, I kind of see it. You're probably going to go down like the entrepreneur route, probably some business, and the fallback, the absolute worst, is you'll be a doctor, which is a pretty good position to be in, I think. Just from what I've met from you, what is the motivation? Some people want to do better than their parents. Some people want to take care of their parents. For you, can you think of what's motivating you at the moment?
Yeah, that's really interesting. I guess just backtracking a little bit with the entrepreneurial route.
Yeah.
I'm actually, like it's really interesting that you mentioned that. But at the moment, I don't prioritize one over another because like medicine really, really fascinates me as well. Like that's literally what I spend like most of my free time reading about.
Yeah.
Just medicine, like just how science interacts with people. It's really cool. So I wouldn't say that I'm set on being a businessman per se, or if like any part of me wants to be like a classical businessman. So I'm still experimenting with both. I want to be a doctor. I think that'll be at least cool to experience. But then we'll see how it plays out. If you want to follow me on my journey, follow me on Instagram.
Yeah.
Anyways. Yeah, shameless plug. Anyways, but yeah, back to your question.
So what's the main motivations for you?
Main motivations, exactly. Main motivation at the moment, parents, I think as you mentioned, is a pretty big driver. Yeah. So you know, they've sacrificed immensely to, I guess, invest in my success. So I think it's it's the least I could do to give back to them. And then obviously, like I'm just gonna do my best to make sure that they they get what they deserve for and be happy for the rest sort of their journey or life on this planet. But I think that's main primary driver, family. But on the side, it's just a few other things. I guess I quite subscribe to the mentality of just being of value to someone else. So one of my best mates, he's got this goal of helping 100,000 people by by 2030, like through one way or another. And I feel like that's a really cool objective to have. So not just money, but you know, be of value to someone else's success. And I feel like if I can do that, I'm pretty good as well. So my current goal is perhaps not as much as 100,000, maybe 10,000 by 2025.
Okay.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. So I guess one person at a time, just help them grow and be the best version of themselves.
All right.
Yeah.
And then you say medicine, probably like the main interest for you now. What was the main reasons to get into it? Was it that to try and help people, or chicks, money? You could say anything you want.
Like your parents, either engineer, lawyer, or medicine.
yeah, it's either medicine or dinner for me. So,
So that was the choice.
yeah, so not much of a choice, unfortunately. No, I think it was. Jokes aside, I think it was a pretty interesting process because you basically have to decide when you were 16, pretty sure, in our school before you chose your year 11 subjects.
Okay.
So I was like, I mean, frankly, I knew nothing. I was like, that's very stupid. So it was a influence from that. He was just like, you know, consider that, you know, don't rule it out. And so I did through a lot of, although I had like a lot of rebellious comments and stuff, still I was like, this isn't too bad. And then the more I looked into it, the sort of the depth and knowledge and just how like broad the field is sort of fascinates me.
Yep.
And then sort of just got into it. But at the same time, looking back, it made logical sense. Looking forward from back then, it was definitely a whim. It's like, let's give it a shot,
I've always been interested to know, so because one of my really good friends from school, he's a doctor now, and I always just knew he was slightly smarter than everyone else.
Oh.
So for you, were you growing up? Were you always quite academic, or is it something that you had to really focus and work hard at? Did it come naturally to you? I guess is the question.
Sure, no, it definitely didn't come naturally to me.
Okay.
Yeah, I definitely know people like you mentioned as well who like pretty much came natural to them. Like they read the book once and just smash every paper. Like I definitely wasn't that. I had to put in, I guess, a little bit more time than other people and still get subpar results. And therefore, that's actually what drove me to perhaps working on how to practice. So, I think there was this quote by my old trombone teacher. He was like, don't just practice, doesn't make perfect. Perfect practice, that makes perfect. So I was like, how do I practice a little bit better than, the average? And then I think that was just from that mentality, I just got a little bit better with academic. Yeah.
So is it true that you got to study like 3 to 4 hours a day for medicine course?
I think for bachelor's degree, it's pretty chill, especially for us who's fortunate to be provisional entry.
Yeah.
We just have to do enough to get by.
Okay.
But overall, I think in medicine itself, I have people say it's like a full-time job. Supposed to do 40 hours a week.
I heard about that as well.
Yeah. So let's see if we get. I'll be in medicine next year, and if you get me on the podcast next year,
I'll do an update.
Yeah.
So let's turn it a little bit on its side. So in terms of dating, like we don't have to talk about your history or anything like that, but growing up, so you obviously grew up in China again, just to reiterate, went to school in New Zealand, surrounded by probably mainly white people in New Zealand.
Yeah.
Who did you kind of see yourself being with when you were older? Or what sort of women were you attracted to in terms of colour?
Yeah, interesting. I was definitely more attracted to colour white, just because I was surrounded by. Like,
I was exactly the same.
girls. I guess I'm still figuring that out as we speak, but like had this. I guess you you want what you don't have, so that was pretty much where it all started, and I think past I've just dated majority like mostly white people,
Okay.
which is interesting. But I'm always definitely open minded.
The race, it's not necessarily like I only want to date this person, I only want to date that person. You're open to the person rather than the colour of the skin.
Yeah, now definitely. Yeah, but back in high school, I was like, that's all my options.
Yeah.
You take what you can
Not
get,
much of a
frankly, at that
choice.
point.
Yeah.
Marcus, I don't know if we spoke about that on your way.
No, not at all. Yeah.
What's your experience like? Because you obviously grew up in a mainly Asian.
Yeah. So,
country.
when I was in Singapore, all Asian girls. So that's my only option. I don't have any options at all. So when I come to Australia, I told myself I've got to open up and try. open myself up, yeah. Don't be like choosy and fussy and stuff like that. So yeah, I did date like Australian girl before, and I did realize there's a massive cultural difference.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like the conversation we have, it's so different from like an Asian girl. Then I feel like that relationship just lasted for like 6 months only. Yeah, because after that we realized that there's definitely a cultural difference, so we can't gel together.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Then
Is there any 1 or 2 examples you can give us? We don't have to go into specifics, but
yeah, so I think one thing is like the most basic is like TV shows. So they're talking a lot about like Seinfeld, which I've never watched a single episode of Seinfeld before, because like from an Asian country, what is Seinfeld, man? Yeah, we don't watch that. Yeah. So they'll be quoting stuff from Seinfeld. I'm like, what is that? Maybe Harry Potter, I can understand
Yeah.
that, but not Seinfeld. Yeah. So that's one difference which we face there. Whereas for Asian culture, it's like we know everything. We know the language wise, so it's easier to talk about family, friends, so we can like speak openly. Whereas it's just tough for me. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
it sounds like you're probably going to settle down with an Asian. Is that a good guess?
Maybe, yeah, I believe so.
Culturally,
I believe so,
it
yes.
just makes sense.
Yes,
Right?
yeah. Because I do embrace my Asian culture a lot also. So yeah, I'll definitely love to like set it off probably with an Asian. Yeah, I'll move towards that path. Yeah.
100%.
More comfortable. I would say I'm comfortable with that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting.
And what would your parents do, Jack, if you go home one day, Mum and Dad, I'm going to marry this Australian girl? would that fly? She can't speak Chinese. She's never going to learn. How's that going down?
Or yeah, I think it'll be interesting to explore. I think I've talked to my parents about this. I think they're moderately open-minded about what my preferences are, but then I feel like it would be trouble, wouldn't it, when you just like back home for New Year's?
Yeah.
Can't speak to anyone. She's sitting on the side eating like fries or something.
Yeah.
It's a gross generalization. But yeah.
But I mean, if the connection's strong enough, I'm sure we can work through the adversities.
Yes, yeah. That's it.
Oh God.
I guess, and then circling back. So your time in Australia, it's only been 2 or so years. How have you found it from a racial perspective? Do you? I guess on college, I know you dorm with quite a few Asians, so there's probably not that much of a distinction or divide. Is there anything you can speak on about what you've noticed in terms of race in Australia?
Yeah. It's really interesting because obviously in New Zealand, as I said earlier on, they were the culture's very accepting.
Yep.
We take you for who you are. Whereas I feel like Australian culture is pretty good as well in that sense. Like everybody's quite open-minded. Yeah, like people are generally nice to you. Sometimes when there is alcohol involved, like people just say things they perhaps didn't mean, or it's just like interesting situations here and there, but nothing significant enough to affect like me or my values. Yeah,
I think because we spoke about it as well. It's if you can speak English well enough, it's sort of perceived as not a exchange student or overseas student.
I kind of have like a benefit because Singapore speak English, so it's easy for me to communicate. So they kind of like bring me in easier. Yeah.
See, yeah.
I fit in well easily for me. Yeah.
I guess like had any stories or heard any stories of people?
Yeah, all the time. I mean,
often enough.
I don't want to admit it, but I've probably been a bit prejudiced to some immigrants myself, just from to think a bit harder. What are you trying to say? I need to think about what I need to say, and then you just get frustrated and you end up slacking them because they can't speak. But that's on me. Marcus, so when we spoke to you, you said that you wanted to really be assertive when you came here. You didn't want to be the sort of student in the background.
Yes, of course.
Not saying too much. Jack, like I said, you're a confident guy. Is that something that you've just inside you, or is it something that you've gone out and, I guess, had a conscious effort around to be not the typical, quote unquote, overseas student and be more of a, bit of a presence?
I think once again, not giving the politically right answer, but I feel like it's a bit of both as well. I just think I just grew up, mom's told me to just be who you are, be confident. If you're going to do something, do it with confidence.
Yep. So it's probably just how you are.
Yeah, pretty much. But at the same time, I did have to develop that as well.
Yep.
Because I'll say initially, I was pretty introverted as well.
Not being able to speak English, I can't imagine you were overly confident back then. So it's just developed over time and...
Yeah, I feel like deep down, I'm pretty self-conscious as well. Like, I believe I'm all right all the time. I'm just like, if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. But at the same time, like, I do question myself all the time.
Is there anything that, you said that, you've got some things that you're not overly confident about. Is there anything you're happy to share about yourself?
Yeah, I mean, everything. If that's a right enough answer. Because I was reading up on this, actually. Something called...
I'd love to hear this.
You do?
Yeah.
I feel like I'm getting nerdy. Where's my nerd glasses?
Get it out.
It's something called the Dunning-Kruger effect. So, like, you usually have this U-shaped curve of knowledge. So initially, at the very beginning stage of learning, you think you know a lot. So your confidence level is huge.
Yeah.
And that's what they call Mount Stupid, because you know very little, but you think you know a lot.
Exactly.
And then the more you learn, the more you think you don't know.
Yeah.
And then like you go all the way down with your confidence, and then you come back up about, you know, in 20 years later into your learning journey after 2 PhDs and getting a professor title at the university, and then you start becoming more confident. So now I'm like, you know, what do I know? I'm only, 20 years on this planet. So I'm like a noob at everything. So I'm basically always questioning my consciousness and understanding of basically everything. Yeah, but at the same time, as my mom would say, if you're going to do something, do it with confidence.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Is there anything you can touch on, Marcus, or expand on about when you came over, as talk about your time when you were studying to kind of be that
Yeah. So
assertive, I think is the word.
yeah, so I would say it's like definitely confidence. When I came in here, all I knew is I could speak English, so that's a benefit I have for myself. So when I speak to like the Australians, locals, no one could understand me because of my accent. It was strong. My Singapore accent
It's
was
really good now. I can't imagine.
It's getting a little bit better, but but it was really thick. So I came in with like what lah? How's your day I spoke something like this, like how's your day Then what do you want to have for dinner today So I spoke with a Singapore accent, and it was no one could understand me at all. So after that, I told myself like I need to speak with confidence. I need to blend in here. So it's all about being myself, and I need to like know how to like blend in properly. Like when I speak to people, I know I need to have the conscious effort that they are not Singaporeans, so I need to blend in here in this society. Yeah,
See.
that's my path over here on how I like move in towards this society.
Yeah.
When I came here by myself.
Really impressive. Just being able to sort of put yourself out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's difficult, man, because you could have very easily just, you know, like you've done your studies, get over with it,
Yeah.
stick to yourself.
Yeah. Exactly.
You really put the foot down and said,
Yeah.
something I want to do.
Because that's one thing which I told myself, like, I'm in Australia, it's a new country, I got to experience a new life here. So I if I want to like do what I've done in Singapore, I just stay in Singapore. So
Right.
So I'm here, experience the life here. Yeah, so mix with the locals instead of like being by myself with Singaporeans and doing all the Singapore stuff, like going for like suppers and typical stuff. Yeah, so I told myself like take one step out, experience the life here. Yeah,
It's good, man. It's good advice for someone in a similar position.
of course.
My last one then, Jack, is advice to your younger self. So would it be enjoy the ride more? Would it be harder? Is there anything you'd not change, but is there any advice if you did it all again, what would you tell yourself?
Yeah.
Get to this point.
Hard question. I heard you ask Coda that question too. What was it called?
It's always the last question.
Carmen. Yeah. And I was like, there's possibly you'll ask me that. I don't know how to answer, but I'll give it a
time
shot.
to prepare, man.
Yeah. No. Maybe I'll put family into the mix as well.
Okay,
So, like, I would tell myself to be, just enjoy it. Things will come. But then also, like, just, boy, appreciate your time with the family. Like, I was so rebellious as a kid, like, I listened to what my parents said and just, like, I'm going to do the exact opposite.
Yeah.
Screw that.
Yeah, right.
But then now, like, talking to different people, they're like, your parents are actually wanting the best out of you. If they're literally the only one that's willing to invest in you, like, selflessly. Like, are you a dumb nut for not listening to them? So, like, at least consider what they're saying, like, or just enjoy their time. No, just be the little prick where you go, because they said something harsh, let's not talk to them for the next day and a half.
I reckon that's actually, it sounds so simple, but it's really good advice, because and it's not just parents, it's mainly parents, because like you say, they're investing in you selflessly.
Yeah.
But it's anyone who's willing to take time to actually put into you. It's listen to them. There's probably a reason why they're saying it. If the intentions are good, then take it on board and, be open to different things.
And I guess Ethan can speak more on that because now you have
your young
family, you have your kid.
Some work cut out for me. But jokes aside, I mean, like my wife and I always have these chats. How do we want to raise our kids? I think we both grew up with very different parenting styles. Neither one is better than the other. So it's trying to now find that balance of, okay, what do we want to do? How do we want to support our kids? Is it punishments physically? Is it, like what your parents did, where they pulled you along rather than just told you this is what you need to do, Jack.
Yeah.
Like as they say, it's the hardest job being a parent. So, and I haven't even really started. I've just been changing nappies for a couple of years. I like that, man.
Process,
That's yeah. No, that's really good advice. Is especially around the parents. That's perfect. So Marcus is going to run through a couple of short answer questions.
Or can I ask one question that's at the back of my mind
100%.
first? Yeah. So you're in. You live the first part of your life in China and second part in like New Zealand and now Australia. So what food do you crave?
It's a great question. Right?
Fish and chips.
Fish and chips.
The baked beans.
Baked beans.
You would have got that on college, surely.
Yeah, too many times, unfortunately. Yeah. What food I crave? To be honest, I think the Chinese cuisine is still embedded in my in my primal mind. So if I crave anything, it's probably like a good Chinese meal.
Okay.
But yeah,
Okay.
but lately I've grown fond of KFC as
So are you good with spices then?
yeah. Typical Zinger box does me pretty well too.
All right. So let's start the rapid fire. So just shoot out the answer. Don't think much about it. Okay. So what's the first thing you do in the morning after you wake up?
Very first thing.
Yeah.
I pick up my phone. Yeah,
So
and
what?
start scrolling. Probably really bad, but like,
So what do you? That's I'm pretty sure 9 out of 10 people say that. What are you looking for?
oh, good question.
Or what's the first app you open?
Notification?
Notification.
Yeah, probably like I was like, oh, what I need to do today.
Yeah.
But currently I'm trying to like stay off my phone for at least 10 minutes. Just like sit there, do a little bit of like mindful activity. Like I leave a few questions in my notes app from the night before, and I was like, go answer that in the morning instead of checking all your notifications.
Yeah.
Makes sense
Previously,
of that.
like you asked me that question, so I, during my podcast, then right now what I'm trying to do is I'll just put my phone at the side because I don't. I make a conscious effort that when I wake up in the morning, I don't touch my phone at all. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do right now.
But it's so hard.
It's hard. It's
like
hard.
a magnet.
It's hard. Yeah. All right. Next question. So, unlimited money or unlimited life?
Yeah, definitely unlimited life.
Why?
Time is money, right? And therefore,
Can make money.
It's interchangeable. I'll go for more life.
Yeah. Okay. Physical strength or mental strength?
Shoot.
Should it? Yeah.
Mental.
Mental.
Okay. Do you feel like you have a pretty strong mental game?
I would say it's not. It's okay. Like I'm getting better for sure, especially in the last 2 years by myself.
So would you be friends with yourself?
Yeah, tough question. Hey,
What have I done wrong in the past?
Yeah, I know. What is this guy? Didn't show up to the party for the second time.
Always drunk.
Always drunk. Yes. I think I will be friends with myself, especially the current self. I'm more like willing to sort of like accept who I am as a person, and therefore I'm assuming the other me is willing to do that too, and therefore I think we click pretty well.
Okay, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's good, yeah. So, would you sleep in or like do a midday nap?
Oh, both are very good. I think I'll sleep in. It's so nice.
Sleep in, okay, yeah. Yeah, I can't sleep in because of Australia's sun it rises like 5 a.m. So my body's like really sensitive towards the light, so I can't sleep in at all. So I do like naps. I need to do my naps, yeah. So if you receive like an envelope with the date of your death in it, so would you open it up?
Yeah, I will. I think I'll open it up.
Then
Do you think it would change much?
Yeah, I think it would change.
I've been thinking about it a lot lately for some reason.
Really?
Yeah. Well, more so that it could potentially, if you believe in religion or not, could just end and that's it, and that's it.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, that's the whole discussion everyone's been having for so many years is what's next? Is there a next?
Yeah.
So I guess this question is, so would you say it was 6 months? I think we would all change a few things in our lives, wouldn't we?
So how do you react when you see like the date?
The date.
Yeah, how would you react?
Holy moly.
Yeah, holy moly.
Yeah, I was just like, I think I'll probably take a more logical approach, to be honest. So I know, like, the emotion's going to be overwhelming.
I think like if you see the date that's tomorrow versus a date that's 20 years from now, I think all of us reacts differently from that.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a
100%.
different. Yeah, like tomorrow's like, damn it, I'm just gonna lay on bed every day for the whole day. Yeah, it's gonna be tough. Then 20 years probably you'll start planning out like what I'm gonna do. Maybe within like the 10-year mark you forget about that date. Yeah.
I know this is meant to be rapid fire, but it's a
Yeah,
very
sure.
sobering, I guess, activity that you can do or people do is where you write your own obituary, and you're thinking, what would it actually say?
Yeah.
See, we're young-ish guys, so
Yeah, that's true.
the story hasn't been written, but
Mhm.
what are people going to say? Will they say, okay, he was a father, he was a decent guy, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Are they even going to say that?
Mhm.
So it's just another thing to think about, not to get too morbid, but
Yeah.
basically just to say this is the life and need to make the most of it. It's probably the takeaway.
Yeah. So next question: if you could have a measuring scale above someone's head, so what would you want it to be? Let's say measure your happiness, the money, financial status. Yeah.
Definitely not money. I think happiness is a really good one.
Mhm.
Yeah. I'd
Yeah.
be interested to know, like, how happy people are and perhaps how I can help to make them,
Yeah.
like,
Okay.
more excited about life.
Definitely. Yeah.
Then what's next for you then, man? So obviously getting through this bachelor's, hopefully go to med.
Yeah.
Anything else that you want to shout out or that you're sort of working on at the moment?
So I think I will give my Instagram a quick shout out if I'm allowed to do that.
100%.
Yeah, just because I've just recently sort of decided to share a little bit more about the day to day.
Yeah.
And see how that goes. I've just never done it. Go follow me and see my journey. I think we'll see how this project pans out. But I'm trying to add something new every 5 weeks to what I do.
Okay.
Just try a new experience, learn a slightly different set of skill, just so like I can almost time stamp my time.
Yeah.
Okay.
And go, right, that's the time when that happened, and remember.
That's true. Okay.
Is there like an app you're going to use, or is it just going to be through Insta?
Just through Insta.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
That'll be cool.
Yeah.
yeah, so perhaps in the next few weeks I'll be doing a little bit of traveling. So that's the first next up, maybe a new experience, maybe scuba diving.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can bring it together. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, man, like I said at the start, he's an athlete. He's a scholar. He's a musician. Bit of martial arts. Can do a bit of everything. Definitely check him out. Thanks for your time, man. Appreciate that, and
Thank you.
all the best with everything.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
My pleasure to speak with you. Yeah.
Oh,
it's
thanks.
nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the pleasure's all mine. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's been.